everyone, it's author Sandra Wilson, and I welcome you back to the Storybook Trail. We've missed a few episodes of Storybook Trail. Through the summer, it's a lot harder to sit down and write because we're outside having so much fun. But I hope you still find time to write, and I hope you're still getting some ideas from the previous Storybook Trail episodes. And so today I have a new Storybook Trail episode for you. And the purpose of these episodes is to give you some inspiration to write a story of your own. So maybe it's just an exercise you do, to practice some writing, or maybe it gives you an inspiration for a story and it gets you going for a full story. However you treat them, I hope you enjoy them, I hope you're inspired, and I hope you keep writing. So today we're talking about the impossible situation. So we've talked about characters and setting and ways to build up the story. And so what stories often need is some sort of problem to solve. And sometimes we have to work backwards. We create the problem and then we figure out how would we solve that. And then that's sort of how the book comes together, because you'll have to kind of have steps to having the problem revealed and then steps to having that problem solved. And sometimes if you have what is perceived as an impossible problem or impossible situation, it makes it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more tense, a little bit more suspenseful, because you're like, how are they ever going to solve that? But of course, it's always good to solve the problem in your story. So hopefully it's not so impossible that you can't come up with a really creative idea of how to make that happen. And when you read stories, you often find, sometimes it's a team that works together to get the problem solved. And so everybody's different strengths come into to effort. Sometimes it's an idea that somebody has, maybe, they get an idea in the middle of the night that they, can try. Maybe they try a few times until they are able to solve it, tweaking it each time. So whatever you can come up with is a great creative way to solve an impossible problem. So let's think, what kinds of impossible problems would be? Well, you could be a snowman character in the desert. Well, that's pretty impossible because the snowman would melt pretty fast in a desert. So if there's a snowman character that somehow finds himself in the desert, he's gonna obviously start melting. So what can we do to fix this problem? Is there somewhere that you could create some cold for him? Is there some way that you can stop the melting? Is there maybe he melts all the way, but you can carry him in something to get him somewhere else and kind of rebuild him? So what kind of impossible situation are you going to create, and what kind of ideas do you have to solve that problem? Now, not all the ideas have to come into your story, but if you have more ideas, it gives you more avenues of which you can pursue to follow a story, to write different aspects of the story. And, maybe you're kind of working along and then you realize, well, that's not going to work because this person, maybe it's not going to work that you're, want to carry him and rebuild him because you have nothing to carry him in, or your character is too small to be able to carry the pot. So then move on to the new idea. Okay, well, what can we create? As something cold. Maybe there's an invention we can have. Maybe there's some science we can use to explain it. Maybe there's some fantastical way to solve the problem. Like, maybe there's an ice dragon that you meet that can help. Things like that you, not just the ordinary, but the extraordinary idea of how you can solve that problem. And that would make for a pretty exciting story. So today, your exercise, if that's what you're going to use it as, is to come up with some impossible situations. And then maybe a few ideas of how you could fix that problem. It doesn't have to be the whole idea. It could just be like, well, if there's a snowman in a desert and he's melting, so there's your impossible situation. What kind of ideas you could have? An ice dragon, a pot to carry them in so you can rebuild them. Maybe you have some sort of invention. Just write things down. You don't have to have it completely solved right now. It's just getting those ideas spinning. Maybe a week from now you hear about something in a book or on TV that kind of tweaks that thought even more. Maybe it's an invention. Maybe it's, a polar wind storm or something like that you hear, and then you're like, oh, that might work. Maybe, you are talking to a friend about some ideas and something else comes to mind. That's often how stories work. You sort of plant the seeds of the idea, and then those seeds grow as you move along in your days and your weeks, and sometimes it creates a full story in your head, and then you can write it all down. But as exercises, we just like to practice our writing and practice getting ideas onto the page. And so that's a great way to do that today, is create an impossible situation and then come up with some ideas on how you can solve it. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's story time trail. Make sure you look back in the other Storybook Trail episodes so that you get other ideas for writing, and keep following us on this channel, and we'll offer more ideas for writing in the future. Bye now.